Hey guys, welcome back to Crazy Karen Stories. In this video, a neighbor Karen freaked out after I refused her access to my jacuzzi and she ended up destroying my property with her car. Let's dive right into the story to find out what happened. So I am a police officer, but I don't really go around much advertising my job for multiple reasons, the main one being that once people realize that a cop lives next door to them, you start getting bothered by every little thing. Like, I'm glad to help with an emergency or when I'm just actually on shift, but some people think a cop next door means running to them for every little thing. If people pay close attention, they might figure it out since I walk out of the house in uniform to get into my car. So it's not really a secret, but not something that I go around shouting from the rooftops. Karen lives next door to me, and since she is a very self-involved person, that means she has no idea about my job. So this will be important later as Karen will decide breaking the law is the best idea in the world. But first, a little bit more about me to set the stage. My job is considered high stress, not just me saying it, but like science says so too. I find myself wanting to find a way to unwind and spend years trying things like yoga, meditation, but it never really helped. I went to a wedding a few years back and was put in a nice hotel. I couldn't sleep, so I went to the pool area and tried the jacuzzi. It was so relaxing and I knew I wanted me one of those things. I slowly saved up money until I could afford to have one installed in my backyard. I felt like even when winter came, it would be nice. Outside in the cold, but sitting in the nice warm bubbly water. After I got it, I was using it on my days off and sometimes after work if I had a morning shift. I realized the only bad part about being outside more was that I was seeing more of Karen. I can already hear people asking, if she is such a Karen, then why haven't I just arrested her already? And that answer is simple. She never committed a crime, at least none that I saw. I cannot just arrest people for being annoying or nosy and just generally a bad person. Karen noticed my jacuzzi though and came over to me one day while I was in it. She did not bother to start off with any nice greetings or casual conversation. She got right into the meat of things and told me that she wanted to use my jacuzzi too. She was already in a bathing suit, which made me feel a little pressure from her, but I was not having it. I explained that I was not comfortable with other people using it, a half lie, because I had no issue if family or friends came over and we used it. Karen I hardly knew though. After hearing the word no for possibly the first time in her life, Karen pushed even harder, telling me that I should be a good neighbor and share with the less fortunate people, talking about how she has kids and gets so tired. She was trying to make it come off like her life was so hard, and so she needed the jacuzzi in order to survive. From what I can see, her life seems fairly average, but even if it was that hard, I would not change my stance. It's my property after all, and I get the final say in who uses it. Now, I could have just told her that I was a cop and to leave me alone, but I was curious to see where this was going. Plus, I don't like using my job to put myself above anyone else or for any type of leverage. It just feels kind of dirty and ironically a Karen move. Karen is still going at this point though, claiming that since I have it, it means that legally I have to share it with her and other neighbors if they ask. That was for the community. I was able to cite some laws to her that actually did exist regarding private property and the fact that I was within my rights to pick and choose who could and could not use it. She even started to tell me that I was making laws up and she knew because her husband was a lawyer, making my thought of job boasting being a Karen move even more legit. Well, Karen does leave after that, but makes these vague threats to me, like, I better watch out, and that this thing is not over. Nothing I can really call in about, and I'm still curious to see if she was gonna drop this or try to start some kind of fight with a cop without knowing it. I was maybe hoping she would pull the Karen move of calling the police, which would have been fun, but she didn't. I was not too worried either since I had cameras and Karen just did not set off my internal radar about being much of a threat. Things calmed down for a few days where she had plenty of opportunity to see me leave the house in uniform and realized that she had made a big mistake trying to fight with me. But no, Karen felt that instead of a normal reaction, she was going to take things to 1000. I was just enjoying my day off, as I like to imagine most people do, in an oversized shirt and eating cereal on the couch. I had my laptop out and got a notification that my camera had picked up some movement. I can adjust the sensitivity, so usually animals don't set it off. Karen was looking straight into the camera and waving as if to get my attention. I did not know what to make of things, but I tend to follow some cop rules in my real life, like don't walk into a situation you know nothing about. So I stayed put and just watched. She vanished off of the camera and moved to the front of my house. Her car was parked in front of the house. She got into the car, made what was starting to look like a K-turn, and drove right into my property and towards my backyard. She got to the jacuzzi and instead of stopping, drove her car right into it, damaging not only my jacuzzi but also her own car. At this point I realized she was a danger and I was done waiting and watching. I got my handcuffs and badge heading outside to see Karen. She had a smug look on her face and told me that I should have been more generous because now nobody would be able to use it. I showed her my badge and told her she was under arrest. I was not angry either, but more amused that Karen finally went over the line and I got to be the one to arrest her. Before I came out of the house, I also called for backup so someone actually on shift could take her in. Karen's reaction to me being a cop was also pretty funny. I expected her to be the type to fight back, but instead she was just in pure shock. She thought I was joking and that I was trying to scare her for what she had done, and then she was trying to pretend that what she did was just a prank and an accident. She meant to brake before the car went into it, and her final way of trying to reason things was my favorite though. She was telling me that there was no way I was a cop because I was a woman. Sexist, but she just kept going. Saying that it was not that I was a woman, but that I was pretty, so she didn't think I was really a cop and to just let her go. I don't think it really sunk in until my backup came and all those officers knew me. She was uncuffed just to get cuffed again by another cop, and now she was acting like a Karen and trying to stop getting arrested, telling the other officers that she didn't know I was a police officer and I was really in the wrong for omitting that information from her. The last thing she said was that she was going to tell her husband what I did. I of course pressed charges against her because I wanted those damages paid for. She was also being charged with endangerment because the way she just drove onto my property, she could have easily hurt somebody. It turns out that she tried to get her lawyer husband to defend her, but he couldn't do so. It also turns out that he was a divorce attorney and had zero place getting involved in what she had done. Aside from shock that she would do something so stupid, he knew that I was a cop, which made the fact she didn't know even funnier to me. She had to get a different person to be her lawyer, and I don't know, but this guy convinced her to come forward offering to pay for damages. A sign of good faith can go a long way in this kind of thing, despite that she was still trying to argue that she should only get a warning because she did not mean for it to go this far. The problem with that statement lies within the video evidence that I have. The fact that she was waving to the camera first and all of that showed signs that she planned this. It was premeditated and not a spur-of-the-moment thing caused by insane emotions. She was given a year in prison with a chance of parole, so really, she could have ended up getting out in a couple of months. I was not too worried about that because messing with your neighbor who you know now is a cop is probably too dumb a move even for a Karen. While she was in prison though, her husband did the very ironic thing of divorcing her. I guess her actions crossed the line for him. Everybody around us heard what happened and the whispers of Karen being crazy and now in prison were just floating around. I ended up looking into her to see if she was still in prison since it's been almost a year, but she was let out already. I guess he got the house in the divorce because she didn't come back to be my neighbor. Oh well, I guess. My jacuzzi got fixed with the money she had to pay and I'm still enjoying and de-stressing in it. I've also invited friends and family to come and enjoy it as well. Maybe before you go insane on your neighbor, you should look into what they do for a living first. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. Years ago, my life took a drastic turn for the worse. My parents were traveling on a ferry boat when it was caught in a storm and capsized. Neither of them survived. My life was in pieces and the only thing that held me together was my girlfriend Jessica. We were inseparable and in love. I married Jessica and we made a new family. It couldn't replace the one I lost, but it did lift me out from rock bottom. I was then blessed with a beautiful and healthy baby girl, Lily. Lily is turning 2 this year and everything in my life is finally right. I wish I could say that at least my faithful and loving wife Jessica has become withdrawn these past months, but after no argument or falling out that I could recall, as time went by, my thoughts turned to doubt and paranoia. The idea that my wife may be seeing someone got louder in my head and I may have even ignored obvious clues here, but I didn't want to see it. I did not want to believe that she would do that to me, to our daughter, after feeling full of a head cold all week. I finally got permission to leave work early on Thursday. Hoping to sleep it off over the long weekend, I nearly fell over after entering my house, not expecting a full suitcase to be blocking the corridor. I was met with mild annoyance when Jessica appeared from the side room and asked why I was home already, stopping only to crouch and zip up the suitcase. She held her hand up to immediately cut me off and then maneuvering around me with the suitcase to the doorway. I was confused by her odd behavior, but she soon explained herself. "Look, Dan, I just cannot do this crap anymore." I moved to grab her hand and she pulled away from me, disgusted or uncomfortable. "I'm leaving you for someone else. My real soulmate, Mark. We'll be going on a cruise ship vacation together. We will be in Hawaii, loser. We have been together for months. You would know if you paid attention." Jessica turned her back to me as she said to walk out of the house. I stood frozen. My head screamed at me to move, but my body was stiff as if I were made of wood. I urged and begged myself to act, but suddenly I lurched forward and my hand caught her shoulder, holding on tight. Her head swiveled quickly, her face twisted in anger. "Get your hand off me!" I tried to talk her down, stop her from leaving, but it was too late. "You cannot do this to us. What about Lily, your daughter?" Her mouth twitched before returning to her frown. "What about her? I will come back for her soon enough." Hearing such cold words, my hold on her loosened and she got free. I felt a chill run through my body again as I succumbed to numbness. I did not let that stop me fight back this time. Yelling after her, "You will never take Lily from me. I won't lose her to someone that would just walk out on us like this. I'm gonna fight this with everything I have." She stifled a small laugh before she got into her car. "I'm not scared of you, Dan. It's like you said. She is my daughter, she belongs with me, her mother, and every judge or jury you find will see it that way too." Her car pulled out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. The next time I saw Jessica was at court, having forced her into a legal battle to stop her taking Lily away by force. During this difficult period, Lily went to stay with my parents/her grandparents. I was not able to explain to her why mommy was not coming home to see her. It was hard to see my daughter in pain. It cost everything I had saved up, but with the help of a good lawyer and a private investigator, I managed to collect enough evidence to draw out the final judgment. And well, basically, Jessica did everything in her power to undermine me as a father, citing stories of neglect and abuse that just never happened. She also had a number of emotional performances that suggested the acting class I got her for her last birthday was not a complete waste of time. Her hearsay was not enough to combat the real evidence I had gathered though. I had reliable character witness testimony on my side from our neighbors, as well as a long list of receipts from shopping trips, spa days and nights out that clearly questioned whether she was fit to be a parent. Then I left my fate, Lily's fate, to the judge. The room became teary-eyed after hearing Jessica's final statements, and it looked like logic had lost to her shameless public appeal. I hung my head in disappointment and resentment. The thought of losing my daughter, after all, was heavy on me. The judge, on the other hand, had other ideas. With a grand final speech, the judge awarded me with full custody, unmoved by my wife's silver tongue. As she rose from her seat to object, she swatted her down, giving her limited visitation rights with supervision. The room erupted in claps and boos, divided in opinions between my truth and her lies. Jessica quickly moved over to me and slammed her hands down on the desk. "F you, Dan. You have ruined this family. Be decent at least and let me say goodbye to her." Shocked and appalled by her perceived attempt to worm her way back into my heart, I shrugged her off. "No, Jessica. I've not done this to us. You have. Lily deserves a better mother." Jessica gritted her teeth and stormed out of the room, bursting through the big wooden doors and followed closely by her nervously bumbling lawyer. After that day, Jessica disappeared from our lives, but I would not find out why until much later on. Lily, while still missing her mother, was able to grow up knowing that she was loved and cared for. And after weeks of trying, I eventually managed to stop looking over my shoulder and expecting Jessica to reappear to steal her away from me. It's been 3 years of bliss since our lives changed. I got a promotion at work and even started to date again. Everything was changing for us for the better. A knock at the door though. I was busy getting ready to take Lily out to her friend's birthday party when I was interrupted by a knock on the door. I swung it open expecting a courier for a parcel I ordered recently. Instead, I was met with a horribly familiar face. Jessica stood on my doorstep looking no different to the day she left. An uncomfortable silence stuck for a second as I struggled to pick my jaw up from the floor. Jessica waited patiently as I composed myself. A part of me was glad to see her, but I pushed any happiness down as I forced myself to remember what she put us through. "What are you doing here?" I asked. She wanted Lily. I knew it before she even said it. "I just wanted to see my daughter and my husband," she said softly as her words stuck in her throat. I frowned at her. I was annoyed that she thought she could just win me over so easily. "Don't you have a new husband? Where is he?" I retorted. She turned to hide her expression. When she faced me again, her eyes and cheeks were red. "That's all over now," she said as she held back tears. "He discarded me and found a new woman." I took small satisfaction in that. "Well, you know how it feels then, Jessica," I said smugly. She shook her head and wiped her eyes. "Please, I never meant to hurt you. I just want to come back, come home again, please." A weaker man might be persuaded by her show of emotion, but I had it seen all before. Her grand performances at court when she had tried to paint me as the devil in order to take Lily away from me, I would not be so easily convinced this time. No. I said, "You lost this family 3 years ago when you left us. You don't get to just walk back in like nothing happened. We have moved on now, and we are happier without you." As Jessica began to beg, I could hear my daughter running around in the house. I did not want Lily to get caught up in this, so I quickly stepped outside and shut the door. Jessica, also hearing Lily, called out to her to try and pull her into the conversation. "Stop it," I demanded. "You do not get to see Lily after everything you've done." Her attention shifted from the closed door to me again. She fell to her knees and grabbed onto me. Bypassers had stopped to observe the unfolding drama, which I was not entirely happy about either. Maybe Jessica intended to embarrass me into forgiving her. "Please, I have nowhere else to go," she said weakly. I sighed, done with having this argument. "I don't care, go anywhere you want, but don't come back again. If I see you again, I'm calling the cops." I moved inside and slammed the door. Jessica stood in the yard, screaming and wailing for a little while. I put on the TV for Lily so she didn't hear anything. When I checked again a little while later, Jessica was gone, and just as I said, she never came back. And here, Ripe Stars, I'm so happy that OP stayed strong and really proved that he has a titanium spine, so to say. It is true that in some of these Reddit stories, whether it is the husband or the wife that got cheated on, sometimes they forgive the awful people that cheated on them way too quickly. And I'm glad that OP didn't do this. He stayed strong. Either way, if you enjoyed the story so far, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because we are getting closer and closer to 130,000 subscribers, which is just insane. Either way, the next one is titled Kid Malicious Compliance. When I was 6 years old, I was with my parents when they parked in front of a store. They told me they were only gonna be in there for a few minutes and they wanted me to wait in the car. They made it very clear that I was to wait for them to come out, and under no circumstances was I to leave the car and come into the store, so I waited in the car as I was told to do. A few minutes later, I had to use the bathroom really bad, like really bad, and I thought about going into the store, but I was worried about getting into trouble for leaving the car, so I contemplated what to do. Then I saw a brown paper Zeller's shopping bag on the floor. Hallelujah! I pulled down my drawers and deposited a huge Cleveland steamer right into the brown paper bag. What a relief. But the satisfaction of relief quickly passed as I realized that I now have another problem. What do I do with the bag of poop that is now in the car? I knew if my parents found out that I did that, I would be in trouble, so the solution my 6-year-old brain came up with was to slide the bag under the front seat to hide it, so that's what I did. I slid the bag with the fragrant lock in it right under where my father would be sitting while he drove the car. A few minutes later, my parents returned with me sitting innocently like a little angel in the backseat. Well, my parents got into the car and told me they were proud of me for being a good little boy and doing as I was told. My dad settles into his seat, starts up the car, and then starts sniffing. He sniffs some more and looks at my mother and says, "Caroline, do you smell poop?" "Yes, Bobby, I do," she replied. "For the love of Christ, get him in the tub as soon as we get home," my father gasped. So then we get home and I am promptly put in the tub. The next day, we get into the car to go somewhere. My father just gets settled into his seat, then looks at my mother and says, "Jesus Christ, Carolyn, I thought you said you washed him yesterday." "Yes, I did, Bobby." "Well, you didn't do a very good job then, because he smells like a ripe effing poop house in a damn heat wave." "Shut up, Bobby. I will wash him again when we get back home." So we went about our business as the smell in the car was intense and unbearable. We had all 4 windows down, but the July heat kept things good and pungent. We finally get back home after being accompanied by a constant chorus of foul language coming from my father. Back into the tub I go. My mother cleaned me extra good and really scrubbed my bum. I leave the tub clean as a whistle, not a hint or a mere sniff of poop smell. Problem solved, right? Well, the next time we got into the car, we were gonna pick my grandma up to take her somewhere. My father settles into his seat. He starts the car up and a few seconds later he slams his fist down onto the dash, looks at my mom and roars, "I still smell poop! I still smell effing poop!" Bobby, calm down, I told you I washed him. And also, I checked him before we got into the car and he did not smell like poop. I smell poop too, suffering Jesus, but I can tell you, it's not coming from him. Then where is it coming from, Caroline? I don't know, Bobby. We picked my grandma up and the smell in the car is pure torture. I could tell my grandmother was really suffering as we marinated in the stench, but she didn't want to be rude, so she suffered in silence with the rest of us. Finally, my father comes right onto the brakes, pulls the car over and breaks the uncomfortable silence and screams, "I cannot take it anymore. There's poop somewhere in the car." I know it, and if I have to tear this damn car completely apart to find it, that's what I'll do. We all get out of the car and he starts sniffing around. He noticed the smell was stronger, closer to the floor, and when I slid the bag of poop under the seat, I did not roll up the end of the bag, so one end of the bag was open. My father is sniffing around and feeling around everywhere. He slides his hand under the seat on the passenger's side and feels around. Just nothing. Then he slides his hand under the seat on the driver's side and feels around something soft and squishy. As he was feeling around under the seat, he slid his hand right into the open side of the bag. Then an expression of pure panic comes across his face as he recoils his hand in horror. He leaped out of the car, stood on the side of the road with traffic driving by, looks at his hand right in front of his face, poop all over his fingers. Damn! After a very sound yelling at, I did indeed survive and live to tell this bathroom emergency story and laugh about it years later. And the next one is a petty revenge Walmart story. And by the way, I gotta say, that was one of my favorite malicious compliance stories of all time. Within a week of working at Walmart, the HR guy who hired me asked me if I was interested in doing registers a few hours a day when I had downtime or when they needed me. Thankfully, I had a friend who told me how much he made at the register, and it was $14. I was maintenance and was getting paid $13 an hour. When I asked the boss if I'd be getting paid the same amount people at the register would be making, he said, "No, you're maintenance," and there's your answer. I declined and did not even try to learn register. I don't care if it's a $1 difference, I'm not gonna take a pay cut just because they don't want to hire more people to do registers. I cut back on a lot of what I did. Most jobs that I did should have had 2 people involved, but I was often left working alone. Shorting cleaning inventory by taking 70-pound boxes off of storage shelves by myself on a ladder with no one holding it, spending 2 hours doing that, sorting the supplies, all the while getting yelled at that the job should have been done. So not only did I stop doing jobs in a rush to make the bosses happy, they had to do the inventory sorting themselves or they had to help me, and I also made them have to hire more people for registers too because of how desperate they were for people to work on registers. Edit, I believe it's petty revenge because the bosses clearly did not enjoy helping me with my work after refusing to give me help in the first place. This was their job to begin with, that was given to me, that was them just handed back to them. Before we end the video, I will read one last story from r/petty revenge that you don't want to miss. It is titled, "So we have paid your rent, have we?" I was renting a 6-bedroom house with 8 others for 2 years. And wow, that's a huge house. We were all in our 20s, earning good money and partying hard. The landlord did not want to deal with us individually, so it was decided that one person had to be responsible for paying rent for us all. The person who paid the rent, Dave, also paid the initial deposit. Dave had rich parents, so he always had spare money to help out, and everyone agreed that he was a great bloke. Obviously, a UK story. Anyway, Dave promised to pay the rent for the last month for us all if we cleaned the place up, £600, when the contract ended. The house was not trashed but needed a bit of deep cleaning and decorating and a few repairs to get the deposit back. It was 6 months rent of £3,600, which was a lot in the 1980s, so we agreed. Unfortunately for Dave, he was away when the landlord came to do an initial inspection to let us know what needed to happen for the deposit to be returned, and in conversation, it turned out that the rent was being split 8 ways, not 9, so Dave had been living there rent-free for 2 years without us knowing. We had a massive party over a long weekend, drinks were spilled and a food fight broke out on more than one occasion. We did not put anything out for the dustman for 2 weeks, cleaned nothing, and all moved out the day before Dave got back, 1 day before handover. Well, surprisingly, he managed to get £400 of the deposit back and tried to make us pay the outstanding money that we supposedly owed him. He gave up after threats of police involvement if he tried to pursue it. I found out years later that our actions totally wrecked his plan to put a deposit down on the house he was saving up our money for. And yeah guys, this Dave guy totally had it coming to him, and I'm glad that OP got some satisfying petty revenge. Either way, thank you for watching, please check out my binge watch playlist on the left, and I will see you again tomorrow.